Hello everyone, it's the NFL Exporter. You're now swimming in the fish tank on finmaniac.com. Today we're going to take a look at the Miami Dolphins defense as they're going to be asked to carry the load and assume the responsibility of keeping the Dolphins in ball games until their offense is able to get on track. Right now the Miami Dolphins offense is dealing with some preseason injuries. They have new personnel and also a new offensive coordinator. Now, when we look at the Miami Dolphins on paper, as far as defense is concerned, I love what they bring to the table. This is certainly a group that has an opportunity to be special and in the season ranked in the top 10. We start at defensive end with Cameron Wake. He's certainly one of the elite pass rushers in the NFL. On the inside, you have Big Randy Stark teamed up with one of my favorite defensive tackles, versatile Jason Udrick. Between both of those two, it's very hard to run in between the tackles, and Udrick can get after the passer as well. And then Vernon Oliver is a guy who fills in the rest of that front four. Last year, he had 11.5 sacks. I love what the Dolphins bring to the table on the second level as well. You have Dannell Ellerbe. Now, Ellerbe was playing inside linebacker. He'll be switching out to outside this year. And Koa Misa, who was outside, will be switching inside. Last year, Ellerbe, the free agent pickup from the Ravens, wasted no time getting to work, racking up over 100 tackles and 2 interceptions. And then at the other outside linebacker will be Philip Wheeler, who had over 100 tackles as well. Misi is the one guy who we're looking for to step up and really make an impact to make this front seven more vaunted. When we look in the secondary, it already had Pro Bowler Brent Grimes. Now the Dolphins went out and picked up free agent Cortland Finnegan from the St. Louis Rams. I absolutely love this pickup. Now Finnegan, we all know, had his glory days with the Tennessee Titans. Went over to St. Louis, had a good first year, took a step back last year. But I think with the rough and rugged style of Miami's defense, he's going to fit in perfectly here. I love the tandem between Grimes and Finnegan. On the back end, you have Louis Delmas, who the Dolphins brought over from the Detroit Lions. Delmas is certainly a guy who has a nose for the football, very instinctive player, and a big-time hard hitter. And so when we look at this Miami Dolphins defense, I certainly love what they're bringing to the table as a whole, but they're going to have their work cut out. Let's take a look at their first 9 games. First game of the season, you have the New England Patriots coming to town. And if Tom Brady has all of his weapons with Rob Gronkowski, Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman, Aaron Dobson, Kimbrell Tompkins, Stephen Ridley, and Shane Vereen, the Dolphins defense have their work cut out, as we know that Tom Brady is looking to rebound from a mediocre last year, and you know the Patriots are always prepared for the first game of the season. Next, you take a trip out to Buffalo. We know that Orchard Park is never an easy place to play. Your division rival knows you very well, and certainly the Bills' offense has been upgraded at the skill position spots from last year. Now, they do have a second-year quarterback in E.J. Manuel, so there's certainly, I know the Dolphins certainly want to get a lot of pressure on him, but the Bills have 3 capable running backs in C.J. Spiller, Fred Jackson, and Bryce Brown. And then they have Sammy Watkins, Robert Woods, and brought over Mike Williams. So they have 3 good, pretty talented wide receivers. And tight end Scott Chandler is very underrated. Next, you have the Kansas City Chiefs coming in town. We know that Jamal Charles is one of the best players in the NFL. And although Dwayne Bowe has fell off, it'll be interesting to see how motivated he is playing this year. The Chiefs don't have a very explosive offense as far as passing the football, but Alex Smith is very efficient. And last year, as low budget and as much dumping off as he did, he still found his way to over 3,000 yards and 23 TD passes to only 7 interceptions. Next, you take a trip out to Oakland. That's never an easy thing, traveling across the country, especially with the time zone change. Now, the Raiders, we don't know what they're bringing to the table so far this season, but it's a whole new cast of players. You have Matt Schaub at quarterback. You'll have Maurice Jones-Drew as well as Darren McFadden. And then we look at the wide receivers. You have Denarius Moore, Rod Streeter, and they went out and got James Jones from the Green Bay Packers. So certainly an upgraded offensive team for the Raiders. Week 5 is a bye. The Dolphins will have a chance to regroup. Now, when the Dolphins come back from the bye week, they have the Green Bay Packers coming in town. Now, we know that the Packers' offense is very explosive. You have the pinpoint accuracy of Aaron Rodgers, who has Randall Cobb, Jordy Nelson and Jared Boykin at his disposal. But the Packers also now have a power running game with running back Eddie Lacy. So the Dolphins will certainly have their work cut out there. After that, you take a trip out to Chicago. We all know that the Bears boast one of the best offenses in the NFL. You're going to have to stop Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Marshall, Matt Forte, Martellus Bennett, Jay Cutler and company. After that, there's a trip to Jacksonville. That's an in-state game. Obviously, the Jaguars don't have on paper a good offense, but every year is a new year. They'll be facing the likes of Chad Henne, Toby Gerhart, Cecil Shorts III, Marquise Lee and company. So we'll see how that works out. And then you have San Diego coming to town. We know that Phillip Rivers and company have a lot of weapons there, and Phillip Rivers seems to be back in elite form. And then the 9th game of the season is at Detroit. We all know that Calvin Johnson and company are big-time threats at home. Matt Stafford has averaged throwing over close to 5,000 yards a year. You factor in now Golden Tate, Ryan Broyles, Reggie Bush, Joyke Bell, and 3 big tight ends in Brandon Pettigrew, Joseph Fourier, and Eric Ebron. So when I'm looking at this first 9 games for the Miami Dolphins, their defense is certainly going to be put to the test. Defensive coordinator has his work cut out. I know that these Dolphins players are going to be motivated, but again, they have a huge task on their hand trying to stop these offenses and hold them to a low amount of points until this offense can get things on track. I'll be very excited to see how the Dolphins defense responds, and this is something that we're certainly going to monitor throughout the course of the season. All right, that wraps up this edition of the Fish Tank. Once again, it's the NFL Exporter for FinManiac.com.